Skytown, we had a lot to talk about since the last time we had a chance to speak. So this is your host, Stephen Prejean Gardner, setting us up for the intro. Let's get to it. Welcome to another episode of CHGO Sky, here with your host, Stephen Prejean Gardner. As you all know, we are presented by Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, so you can use code HICHGO at checkout and receive all types of exclusives specific and relevant to CHGO at your purchase. Without further ado, again, we have a nice little bit of things to dive into. Over the last 7 games, the CHGO Sky have gone 3-4. And while for some people that may not be paying the most attention to the team and just kind of be checking the box score and looking at things as far as win-loss record goes, things can get severely and significantly lost in translation for me. And I would like to start there. Like I mentioned, 4-3 in their last 7 games. And in these last handful of games, they've gone up against the Atlanta Dream, which was a loss. They beat the Los Angeles Sparks at home. Then they lost on the road to the Golden State Valkyries. Won on the road against the Los Angeles Sparks again, then lost at Minnesota this past Sunday, came into a game against the Washington Mystics, lost that game on the road, and then came back home yesterday on Allie Quigley's jersey retirement day and won against the Dallas Wings. So that's kind of the roundabout fashion of speaking to this last 7 games for the CHGO Sky. What's important to note in all of that for me, starting with the team, is that they just look and feel and seem significantly more connected on the offensive end, especially, but they're also learning things about themselves on the defensive end that is going to eventually start to translate into sustained success for them. And that's across a game-by-game process. So we're seeing them have to experiment a little bit more with lineups, with Kamilla Cardoso having left to go and tend to her national team ties over with the Brazilian national team, ultimately coming back for yesterday's game against Dallas for the win. But with her absence over the last 3 to 4 games prior to yesterday's win, they have to kind of test the waters on a few different things. We saw Angel Reese starting at the 5. We saw Angel Reese starting with Elizabeth Williams in the front court with her. We saw Angel Reese starting with Michaela Onyenwere in the front court with her. We just saw a lot of different lineup combinations, all of which I feel like are presenting the CHGO Sky with opportunity to learn. Some people see it as a challenge. I see it as an opportunity for them to learn and kind of figure new things out so that when you bring Kamilla Cardoso, who had a career best game in her game before yesterday, before she left for her national team, to come back into a team context that is more knowledgeable of themselves. So they're understanding what buttons they can press with certain lineups, what player combinations work better with one another, and how those pieces can play in tandem with Kamilla Cardoso returning, but also when Kamilla is either resting or in foul trouble. And the Kamilla Cardoso off minutes have been something to kind of keep in mind with watching the team. And actually, they navigated them fairly well while she was gone. But now it's about bringing her back, getting that usage and that production out of her that you got from her career best night, the game before she returned yesterday, and also figuring out, taking all of the things that you learned while she was gone and applying that to her off minutes. It's a little complicated, but I think generally with the handful of opponents in particular that they matched up with in that time while Kamilla was away, again, they just learned a lot about themselves. And you start with Rachel Banham in particular, firstly. Rachel has been a revelation in multiple moments this season for the team. Earlier in the season, I felt like through the first maybe 2 to 3 games, she was the best guard on the team. And obviously she was in a 6-player type of role at that moment. But she was just simply coming in and doing the things that she was tasked with on her job or role description for the team better than any of the other guards were doing relative to where they were in the rotation, but also she was doing so more efficiently than all of the other guards as well. So you fast forward about a month and a half, she makes a return back to the starting rotation. And over these last 7 games, she's just simply been very, very, very good for this team. So Sarah, if we could go ahead and get the Rachel Benham template up so that everybody can see what we're speaking to. Starting over these last 7 games has Rachel Benham, a little bit of point guard, a little bit of 2 guard, but just generally being in more of a steady hand and another veteran presence with a unique dynamic from Kia Nurse as well as Rebecca Allen. She's averaged 12.3 points per game. That's very, very, very good, especially when you see that she also shot close to 50% from the field. And from 3-point range, she also shot 45.5%. And that's not on an insignificant type of volume that she was shooting at, as well as she's been taking 6 inching a little bit incrementally close to 7 3-point attempts a game on 45%. Very good. Also averaging basically 3 assists in this stretch as well. And that kind of lends itself to what I'm getting ready to speak to with Rachel, is that she's been a player, like I mentioned, spent a little bit of time at the point guard position for this team, spent a little time off the ball as well. It's been a somewhat balanced impact for her in terms of her usage. When she has had the ball in pick and roll, anytime she's gotten a screen from Kamilla Cardoso before she left to tend to her Brazilian team ties, that was a very, very efficient and effective 2-player action for this team, largely because of Kamilla starting to turn corners in her screen setting, creating more contact, which then leads to more advantage for the ball handler to get into. And with Rachel in particular, we're seeing with her when she's in pick and roll, if she has drop coverage and the person that's guarding the screener is too far back off the screen and not close enough, if that screen is good enough, she's coming off and Rachel is not hesitating to let it fly. And that pull-up 3-point shot for her in particular has been something that's been efficient and effective. She finds those pockets as well as any other player on the team. And opponents are erring on taking away the roll and keeping them away from getting paint touches, which naturally lends itself to her having the pull-up 3-point opportunities that she's enjoyed. Additionally, though, not just the 3-point shooting for her in pick and roll, but a handful of passes that she's been making have been timely, they've been very accurate, and they've been just coming in a way that helps to balance out the lineups that they're using. She's been able to kind of balance out her usage, but also in tandem with her own usage, kind of diversify the usage for a player like Ariel Atkins, who, since Courtney Vandersloot went down with the ACL injury, has taken on significantly more on-ball reps and on-ball usage as far as initiating the offense. So Ariel Atkins being a direct beneficiary of Rachel Benham stepping up and roll and that ability to just be a time-on-task player. You need her to knock down pull-up threes and pick and roll. She does that well. You need her to knock down threes in the catch-and-shoot variety off of the attention that Angel Reese might get or Ariel Atkins might get or Kamilla Cardoso might get. She has had no problem doing that as well. She's also been very good at just generally making quick decisions in a lot of the situations that she's been kind of put into with the team as well. So shout out to Rachel Benham. They call her Big Mama. And if you know where the reference comes from, it's in respect to obviously Big Lotto, the rapper. She has a very, very joyous kind of energy about her. And I think her presence and dynamic, in addition to her personality, now that she's been in the starting rotation, has had some impact on that starting unit for the team. And honestly, even in the closing efforts. Just a player, again, that just understands what it is to add value in the role respective to what she needs to play for the team and the lineups that she's featured in to be their best selves. And obviously that comes with elite level spacing and elite level 3-point shooting from her, which just continues, again, to make her impact and her dynamic unique from other players that play a similar position that she does. In addition to that, though, with the Sky being about 4th in the league in scoring over these last 7 games, being about 3rd in offensive rating, I believe. Let me double check that while I'm speaking to it. They've just been getting it done. And yeah, to clarify, they've been 3rd in the league over these last 7 games in offensive rating with a 105.9 rating. And then also, in addition to the offensive rating, their true shooting percentage in terms of the efficiency, including free throw attempts and free throws made, they're at 54.8, which is also 4th in the league in this 7-game stretch since June 22nd. So again, this is a team that's just getting the job done. They're also 4th in assist percentage as well. So that speaks to a team that's moving the ball well, that's generating good shots for themselves, that's knocking down the shots that they generate at an efficient clip, and it's also having impact on the games that they've been playing in relative to their opponents as well. So being top 4 in offensive rating, assist percentage, and true shooting percentage over this stretch of games, very important for the Chicago Sky. And they're also in tandem with that. One of the biggest kind of weaknesses for the team was the efficiency of the playmaking, especially without Courtney Vandersloot. And in respect to that, over these last 7 games, they're also fifth, in turnover percentage. So they're doing a good job mitigating the turnovers that they do end up giving up to their opponents, lending itself to them getting more shots on goal. That 105.9 offensive rating, being third in the league, is very important, as well as in tandem with the true shooting percentage. So again, to the general point of today's episode, clarity, learning a whole lot more about the Chicago Sky team. It's a process. It's been very slow in terms of that working in their favor, and they haven't been done any favors in terms of the injury bug with losing Courtney Vandersloot. Nonetheless, they've made no excuses for themselves. They've simply adjusted in real time with the hand that they've been dealt, and they're now starting to get to a point where they're making the most of everything that they have on the offensive end. You see an almost career high outburst from Rebecca Allen in last night's game and last night's win over the Dallas Wings. And you see players like Kia Nurse in a secondary role now, where she was starting early in the season and her production was kind of up and down. She's kind of gotten comfortable in that 6-player type of role for the team. And now she's knocking down 2 or 3 threes a game, depending on which game you might be looking at. And also just finding a little bit more success on the defensive end of the floor as well. Everybody's starting to look a little bit more comfortable in their roles. And naturally, that kind of is a perfect transition to who's been most comfortable in the new and unique role that they've been playing in. And that's the one and only Angel Reese, also being named to the All-Star team, also having garnered a All-Star selection in that, also having been being featured on NBA 2K25 as well as the player that's on the cover of that. So, and also with us at CHGO having a shirt specific to her. You see the designs. I want to make sure you pay attention to the detail in addition to the colors and the way that everything is set up on this shirt. Very specific to Angel Reese and her brand, but also what she means to Chicago, and naturally tying in with the Chicago Sky colors. So we want to make sure we shout out to that as well. You can go and find that on our CHGO, our All CHGO site. You can go there and purchase it. It just came out last week, so you got plenty of time to get to it. I definitely would advise it. The shirt is awesome. It's a unique way to kind of support not only us, but the Chicago Sky and Angel Reese all in one kind of sweeping blow. So you want to make sure to check that out. But yes, to the Angel Reese point, and we got a quick ad break coming up, so I'll kind of get to the initial point. We'll go into pay the bills, and then we'll get back to Angel after that. She just continues to step into her own. And Sarah, we can go ahead and check out the Angel Reese template now. Over this last 6 games for Angel Reese, 18.7 points per game. That ranks 7th in the WNBA in this stretch. 15.7 rebounds per game. That ranks 1st. She's the only player averaging double-digit rebounds, and she's doing that significantly more than second place, which is averaging like 8.6. So she's just head, shoulders, toes, and ankles and heels above everybody else in the league right now. No surprise to the best rebounder, one of the best rebounders we've ever seen already. 4.3 assists per game, 13th in the league. Again, for a front court player, 4.3 assists is imperative. It's important, especially looking at the uniqueness of that. Also, 1.2 steals per game. That's 27th, but again, when you put it in respect to the position that she's playing, 1.2 steals per game is certainly nothing to scoff at. And then the last one in there, maybe one of the most important numbers for me, and just kind of assessing her growth and her aggressiveness on the game and how she's finding her pockets to do so, 5.8 free throw attempts. And she's knocking that down at a very efficient clip in the mix with all of that. She's 4th in the league in free throw attempts. Only the only player with 3 or more double-doubles in this stretch, getting 6 in these last 6 games. So she's averaging a double-double. She's doing what she does. And again, it's just finding new ways to have impact in a sustained manner for the Chicago Sky team at a moment where they've needed it most, and they needed someone to step up out of what their initial role was and step into something new. You lose Courtney Vandersloot. You also lose Kamilla Cardoso for a handful of games at a crucial juncture. as the team is trying to turn corners, and you get Angel Reese stepping up in her role. All right, we'll take a quick ad break, and then we'll get back to speaking to everything Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky once we get done with that. All right, so we started the show speaking to Sunnyside, and we're going to hit Sunnyside first, as you see the QR code in the bottom corner of the screen here. So what is Sunnyside? Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. What are some of the amazing features that make the brand or product awesome? It's your one-stop shop for all of your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary, with locations in the city, Wrigleyville, or River North, all the way to the suburbs like Champaign, all the way down south, as well as South Beloit, and so much more. If you're starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands we know you'll love, like Good News as well as Mindy's. If you're a pro, we've got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu and new ones added daily. Expertly curated wellness advisors staff picks collection as well. And we all know you love Cresco and florals. In addition to just the general diversity of the products that they have for you, which I think you're kind of getting from what I'm speaking to. Visit Sunnyside.shop for your bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Again, 50% off your first 3 online purchases. All you have to do is enter the promo code that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, HICHGO, again, HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or IL medical card holders. And then I also want to make sure to note that for existing users, if you use our CHGO50 code, you'll get 50% off of one Cresco Labs brand item as well. And then I also want to make sure to tell you all about Cash App. So I think Cash App is something that everybody knows about. Everybody's kind of dealt with in some capacity as well. It's safe and it's easy, and it's also a fast way to send, receive, or transfer money to both family and friends. Instant setup is one of the emphasis of Cash App. And how easy is it to start? All you have to do is enter your phone number or enter an email address. No bank account needed in any capacity. Also, there's no wait. There's another emphasis. If you do your money, if you do your own money and you just want to show up the right way, there's no waiting around for days in terms of the transactions. They typically get it done in a very quick fashion for you. It's your money and you shouldn't have to wait. I want to also tell you all about a time where I've used Cash App. So I used to be a captain of a flag football team. Everybody likes to use multiple other different entities, but I sided with Cash App because of the instantaneous nature of it, the kind of user-friendly interface that they have, and the swiftness with which they get transactions done as well. Second to no one, Cash App gets it done. You can say it's also very, very secure and safe for you. Cash App has your back if you're ever about to send money to sketchy or scammy things. They'll make sure to give you a warning prompt to make sure that you're relaxed and that you don't have to worry about what's going on with your money and if it's getting where it needs to at the time that it needs to, in the fashion and capacity that it needs to. They also have customized payments that you can make to your friends, as well as custom texts, as well as stamps and different types of backgrounds. Again, speaking to the interface and the kind of functionality that makes the Cash App specific to Cash App unique from any potential competitors. And then lastly, I'll just say again, talked about me being a flag football captain and things like that. I love Cash App because it just gets the job done. It keeps it simple, it streamlines it, keeps the main thing, and it keeps all existing parties happy. All right, so back to Angel Reese. So we talked about everything that she's been doing statistically over these last handful of games. My favorite part about all of it that she's been doing is, first of all, the leadership component. Leadership is not a one-size-fits-all thing. Leadership is not something that's going to look the same from team to team based off who the leader is and who the leaders are. I look back at yesterday's game. We talked about Rebecca Allen having a near career high night in terms of scoring, as well as her three-point shooting in that game. You look after the game, obviously it's a win, and they're celebrating, and everybody's on a little bit of a high from obviously the Allie Quigley jersey retirement and the team just winning the game that they've been playing games close in this stretch of games. Look at what Angel Reese is doing. Finds a way to go over to Rebecca Allen as the team is celebrating, picks up her veteran. This is a second-year player, by the way, picking up her veteran and kind of touting her as a trophy in multiple respects and just celebrating the moment. Little moments like that always are a telltale sign of where teams are as far as their culture and as far as camaraderie. If your players on the team aren't celebrating the team successes as well as individual successes in a comprehensive fashion, that means that's a team that's not connected. You show me a team that's not celebrating individual successes in any capacity, I'll show you a team that's not connected. This Chicago Sky team, indicative of that moment that I'm speaking to in postgame, is very much a team that does just that. That's a direct kind of example of the type of leadership, but it also speaks to the culture that they're establishing as a team. Because it wasn't just Angel. As Angel picked Rebecca Allen up, everybody else rallied around and was kind of tapping her on the hips and the side and dancing and cheering and things like that. Again, just a very subtle moment if you kind of gloss over it. But if you look at it the right way and you apply the context of where the team is, playing in significantly close games over this 7-game stretch, where I've been talking about them being honestly elite on the offensive end in terms of the efficiency and production that they're getting into, they're just getting it done. And Angel Reese is kind of at the forefront of a lot of that. She'll be quick to say that it's also her teammates as well as her coaches putting her in better positions. But Angel's also simply doing her job significantly better than she did earlier in the season. And she has a quote speaking to that over the past handful of games as well, saying that she realized that this all-star selection was one that she had to get out the mud. And she said getting it out the mud because she knew and she admitted to not having the best start to the season. Playing through a little bit of an injury, playing through having a brand new context of players around her, as well as a brand new context of play from a new head coach and a brand new head coaching staff. There's a lot of newness going on. But Angela made sure to note that that was not something to make excuses for. She said she just understood that she had to lock in, do her job better, and find ways to put her teammates in better positions as well. Needless to say, from those first 2.5 to 3 weeks to the last 2.5 to 3 weeks that have come since then, she's a completely different player night and day in terms of the leadership, in terms of her impact, in terms of garnering an all-star selection based off of the corners that she's turned, and also helping to uplift the level of play for the team on both ends of the floor. She's just getting it done. My favorite thing about everything that she's been doing, though, the leadership part is a bit of it. The other bit of it is the playmaking and the drives. And we can start with the drives because no different than when she's playing in the post, she's become more patient, understanding that she has typically an athleticism advantage that she can use to her favor whenever she's trying to get downhill, whether she's initiating offense or she kind of gets it in a secondary fashion. And she's just processing and understanding what her skill set is and using it and playing at her speed now. She's not being sped up and she's not moving too slow anymore either. She's kind of operating in a very good space right now to where when she gets downhill, she's turning the corner at a pace that she wants to, which is allowing her to kind of showcase a little bit of that handle that's evolved significantly from what it was last season and even earlier this offseason when she was with Unrivaled. She's making spin moves, in and out dribbles and the pull-ups. And then the other big thing for me on her drives, like I was mentioning, no different than her post-ups, initiating contact, but doing so in a way to where she's still very much on balance to where after the contact is made, she's now able to be on balance and play to her footwork and getting into finishing below that free throw line in a way that's effective and in a way that I think is going to end up turning her in what is an all-star into eventually an all-WNBA caliber player. As the game continues to slow down and her skill set continues to evolve and she starts to notice more things and finds more ways to have impact than just one or two or three different ways, you're simply looking at a player that is on a trajectory of her own. I know she's gotten a lot of Alyssa Thomas comps, and she even spoke to having spoken with Alyssa Thomas after their last matchup, which is very cool considering where they're both from and the Maryland ties and everything that's kind of led up to where she is in her career and where Alyssa Thomas is in hers. If she's on that arc in any capacity, that's going to be a Hall of Fame player. And needless to say, I think we can all say that she's on that trajectory. But I don't even want to make it seem like she's on a trajectory that's akin to Alyssa Thomas. I think she's in a space unique from anyone else, because I don't know if anyone, especially at this early of a point in their career, has kind of had the types of dynamic growth that she's seen from season 1 to season 2. No one's coming to the league and led the league in rebounds in the way that she has. That's historic. I think other than that, there's also no one that's had the type of defensive impact to the extent that she has, especially going from the latter end of season 1 into season 2 as well. And she's truly been a defensive anchor for this team in multiple respects. The switchability, the general versatility, and her activity that she gets into has really helped this team build a boat out for success as they kind of build around the margins to help to sustain that across multiple lineups. So that's a lot of the bit on Angel Reese. We could talk obviously about her for another hour or two with the level of play that she's exuded over the last handful of weeks, but I also want to make sure we get into some of the other players that may be unheralded but are doing things in a unique way to help kind of keep this team in this new space that they're operating in as we kind of get to closing out for today's episode. So I want to start with Elizabeth Williams. Can never say enough about everything that she brings to the fold. Great screener, makes quick decisions when she's in a short role with someone like Ariel Atkins to keep advantages or create a new advantage for the team to play out of. Does a good job on defense. Obviously, has been all defense multiple times. Is lauded across the league as one of the better post defenders and more versatile post defenders, largely because of her communication. That part is extremely important when you talk about building out lineups independent of Kamilla Cardoso, because you don't have someone else on your roster that can play that position in the ways that those two in particular can. So if you can always have an advantage, whether Camilla's on the court or E. Will is on the court, now you're starting to build out a process to where you can look to win minutes regardless of who's on the court. And that part naturally transitions as well to Michaela Onyenwere for me. So I would start with, yes, I would love to see her finishing some of the layup opportunities that she creates for herself more, whether that be via cuts, whether that be via in transition, or if she's in the half court and she's kind of around the basket. Definitely want to see her reap the benefits of all of the work that she does by having the numbers that kind of align with it. And I think her scoring goes up 2 to 4 points a game over this recent stretch of games if she's finishing at the basket. But generally speaking, one thing you always hear about Michaela is that she's arguably the best simple teammate on the roster, always cheering for people, always finding ways to help add value on the margins. Defensively for her, especially in the lineups that she spends time with Angel Reese with, their ability to switch a lot of the actions that one of those two might be involved with just gives their defense a different layer that allows for them to play with more pressure and play with more aggressiveness and add a layer of activity to everything that it is they're working towards on that end of the floor, which naturally lends itself to them playing off of more stops. And that's where you get them finishing top 4, top 3 in offensive rating over the 7-game stretch. Yes, it's their execution in the half court, but they're also doing a better job in pockets of forcing turnovers and forcing opportunity to put pressure on their opponents because of the stops and the volume of stops in a row that they're kind of able to compile. Their game process is getting better, and it's largely because of individual efforts being better in the specific roles that they're operating in, like Elizabeth Williams as well as Michaela Onyenwere. In addition to those two, I also mentioned Kia Nurse a little bit earlier, so I won't hang too long on her, but we're talking about multiple veteran players that have spent time in multiple different roles, compiling all of that experience with the CHGO Sky team. And now you're seeing this team kind of reaping the benefits of the amount of just high IQ vets that they have on their roster. They're not in situations that they haven't been in before individually or on the respective teams that they play with. So that gives a kind of calm and stillness to where there's no panicking going on with the team. They understand that they're working up against the clock in terms of duration of the season left, but they're not rushing their process, understanding that process is what's going to ultimately lead to them sustaining a level of play that they can kind of better build a foundation off of. And that leads me to speaking to obviously Rebecca Allen. Rebecca Allen, just another vet for this roster that simply understands role and knows how to add value, whether it's creating space for others to be successful and putting the defense in compromise, knocking down shots at a rate that this team needs her to, grabbing rebounds, playing secondary in terms of pick and roll at times, or just generally with her drives, being able to go and get a paint touch. Becky Allen is just a player that gets it, and she understands what the advantages that she create can help to present for the players on the roster with her as well. Her switching and her ability to get deflections on the defensive end and just provide size and length and activity really helps to build out lineups once you get past that starting layer, that starting rotation of players. And it's been extremely beneficial for this team. And then one last player that I want to make sure we note and we kind of speak to within all of this. And I know we kind of spoke to Kia Nurse a little bit already too, but Haley Van Lith. So Haley's seen her minutes kind of be scaled back some. And I think that this is an important opportunity for her, especially because her role has kind of been up and down, especially since Courtney Vandersloot has gone out of the lineup. She's been tasked with playing a little bit more on ball in the first handful of games where Courtney Vandersloot was out, to ultimately spending a little less time on the ball and kind of blending that in to help better situate Ariel Atkins in particular, to now Kia Nurse going from the starting lineup to the reserve rotation and Rachel Banham replacing her. There's just been a lot going on, but I think Haley is starting to get in a place where since Courtney Vandersloot left, she's starting to find pockets of having impact. And that also lends itself to the other rookie that I want to get to, and obviously Maddie Westbell, who's been playing more time since Kamilla Cardoso left to play with the Brazilian national team. Both of those two are being presented with opportunity that most rookies just aren't finding a sustained manner to have with in their respective teams across the entire W. Obviously, with the rosters not being to the length that they need to in terms of keeping a lot of home talent home and on rosters for these WNBA teams, these two players are in a situation where they're getting minutes. And we've seen Maddie Westbell have significantly adding some significant impact to the secondary role in their front court. She's coming in and she's bringing a level of toughness and physicality and switchability, versatility on the defensive end that's kind of adding some value for the team in those secondary reserve type of roles. In addition to that, she's also doing a better job kind of finding pockets to add some value on the offensive end of the floor and scoring the ball as well. I think she's a player that as she gets more time, even if her minutes may be scaled back as Kamilla Cardoso gets reintegrated into the rotation, I think that Maddie Westbell is a piece that's going to add some things that this team maybe didn't have when Kamilla first left versus when she's coming back now. And this is what I'm getting to when them kind of learning more about themselves in this time from where Kamilla was out and even before Kamilla left in the 7-game stretch that we've been speaking to where they've gone 3-4. So again, generally speaking, this Chicago Sky team is learning a lot about themselves. The process is starting to show its worth. They need to be extended grace to go through to take the lumps that I spoke to in our last episode and kind of go through some of the struggles that may come and learn from those things to then apply the lessons that they learned in real time. They don't get to taking a team that was in the finals last season in the Minnesota Lynx on the road to the brink of potentially winning a game and having a shot if they kind of better manage that last 2 minutes of the game. They don't get to that point without the lessons that they learned in the games that preceded that, without taking the wins and celebrating those, but learning from the wins equally as much as they're learning from the losses that they kind of garner. So just generally speaking, the team is finding their way on the offensive end of the floor. They're learning more about the personnel. They're learning more about what they can get about different player and lineup combinations as well. And their best player, their leader, Angel Reese, is also kind of taking all of those things in stride as well, in addition to learning new ways to be a leader and having reach past just that top layer or that middle layer of players in the rotation. So there you have it with everything that's been going on with the Chicago Sky over these last 7 games. They have a nice stretch of games loaded in the schedule for them headed into All-Star break going into next weekend. So we'll continue to be able to see what that process and where they're at within that as Kamilla Cardoso gets reintegrated into things. We'll get to kind of better assess where they're at in that over the next week going into, obviously, All-Star weekend, where Angel Reese will be representing the team. And to the All-Star weekend point as we close out, I'm very curious, and I say this with a smile on my face because I think it would be very fun if Ariel Atkins is included in any of the All-Star weekend festivities, whether it be the skills competition, whether it be the 3-point challenge. I'm also very curious in particular with Rachel Banham and seeing if she gets invited into the 3-point contest. I think Rachel will be a fun addition personality-wise to the entire All-Star weekend element. I think it would be fun for the Chicago Sky to have more than just one player involved in the All-Star Weekend's direct festivities as far as being on the court. And I also think, just generally speaking, it would be fun to have more of Chicago's personalities involved with the weekend, just because they have a very unique group in that respect. So I imagine we'll get more news on that front as we get closer to All-Star Weekend. And the league does its diligence on calling some of the snipers around the league. But I imagine Rachel at least gets a call to gauge her interest in if she's intrigued by being involved with that or not. But I think it would be fun for her, and it will also be fun for the league to have Sky personalities involved. So, again, I'm your host, Stephen Prejean Gardner. You can follow me on Twitter at StephenPG3. Got some fun things in the works regarding the Chicago Sky over the next week, if not post All-Star break, to kind of bring to you guys content-wise. So be on the lookout for that. You can also follow the show, of course, at CHGO_Sky on Twitter, where we have all types of updates from post-game and pre-game things happening that are not on the live broadcast, obviously X's and O's breakdowns and things like that I'm posting from my show or from my podcast or from my Twitter account that I'm then kind of retweeting and funneling through the CHGO Sky Twitter. So yeah, just tap in with us on social media if you haven't already. Let's continue to make this basketball space of ours a better one. The talent that the league has right now is in such a great space that a lot of the talents and the works going on the court need to take on a lot more attention than some of the other conversations taking place in discourse. So let's continue to do our job in keeping that and making this space what it needs to be, and just kind of learning with each other as well as we kind of just uplift the players that are in this league right now and taking this league to heights that we maybe couldn't have even seen 5 or 6 years ago. So tap in with us all on Twitter. Until next time, y'all be safe. Enjoy All-Star Weekend if we don't speak to you all before then. And we will talk to you all soon. Be blessed.
We all silly like the mayor.